the invocation and the pledge of allegiance.
Please pray with me. Father, we just thank you so much for the opportunity to come together and discuss the affairs of the city. We pray your healing over this land, over this country, over our county, all those who have been affected by this virus, both economically and physically. We pray your blessings upon them. We pray wisdom on this council, on this board, Father, that you will grant them that wisdom so that they can make decisions that will the bless even as you do. We praise you in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you. You may be seated. Item 3 is the consent agenda. Are there any questions with regard to the consent agenda?
Mr. Mayor, if no one has a comment, I would like to make a comment on the items 4 and 5, not to move them off, but we got a very good interest rate on our loans for drinking water and clean water. And it'll save almost $1.1 million over the next 20 years. So that's about $52,000 a year in savings from what we projected. So that's pretty awesome. The interest rate is like 1.15 on one of them and 1.17 on another, but very, very good. The first 5 years of one of them has 0% interest and the other one has 6 years of 0% interest. So pretty cool.
Thank you. Any other questions or concerns? If not, I'll go ahead and move that the consent agenda be approved as it currently reads. Is there a second?
I second.
Motion has been made and seconded that the consent agenda be approved as it currently reads. Any questions or discussion? If not, those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed to the same. Motion carries. Item B is visitors report. I'm sorry, did anybody sign up? Didn't hear you, I'm sorry. Okay, thank you. Okay, item E is action items. Number 1 is consideration and action to approve or reject any or all proposals received for group health insurance. Mark?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I want to introduce Tammy. Of course, you know, y'all should know her. With Greer and Associates, been helping us with insurance for many, many years, way before my time, and done very well. In your packet on page 213, you can see column number 1 where it says current. That shows our current benefits and what we're getting. Blue Cross Blue Shield sent a proposal to for this next year, and it's about a 2.2% decrease. You can see a little bit of decrease, and so that's very positive, very good. But the third column is the one that we're going to recommend, and it'll take us moving from Blue Cross Blue Shield to United Health, but it's a tremendous savings of over $2,500 a month, about almost $32,000 a year. So the only change that it does is out of pocket the co-insurance. And Tammy, if I say this wrong, correct me, from 1,500 to 2,000. But there's other things that are better. The copay for emergency room, which is probably what most people would use. That would go from 500 to 300. And most people, unless you've got a large catastrophic event, never get the annual co-insurance anyway. So I guess it's about it. Actually, the office pay, copay is $5 cheaper. For specialists, it's $10 cheaper. But anyway, it'll be a good, United Health is good, recommended by Greer and Associates. So we would like approval of option 3.
So United Health is the lowest bidder then.
I did not hear.
So United Health is the lowest bidder?
Yes.
On the prescriptions, is it the regular prescription, or is it the?
That way, if anybody's online, they can hear.
Take the mic too. Is it okay if I remove this to the side just a bit? I'm talking quite a bit. Okay. First off, I'm happy to be here. I'm Tammy Greer with Greer and Associates. Can everybody hear okay? The question was, Yolanda, you had a question specifically about the prescriptions, Blue Cross versus United Healthcare. So with United Healthcare's mid-market, because the city last year transitioned from small group to mid-market, their mid-market platform, they update them annually. And this year, they have gone to a 3-tier copay plan for their medication. So their formulary is going to be a bit different, and that was disclosed, that's been discussed. Most every common drug is covered. The big difference is going to be like the mail order and whatnot. That's the difference between United Healthcare as well as Blue Cross. Blue Cross right now currently has 6 copays in place, and it varies. So those copays vary from preferred generic to generic, ranging as low as 0, but as high as $250 for specific drugs. Now, I will say on the drug portion for United Healthcare, in the event that a specialty drug is prescribed, and a specialty drug would be something oftentimes like oral chemos, injectable drugs, things like an Enbrel, a Humira, even some of our migraine or even ADHD type medications, they can fall under the $75 tier and will have to go through a specific process to be approved and whatnot. So there is, there will be a few changes when it comes specifically to the medications. So that answer. Okay. A couple of other highlights, if I may, Mark. One of the big differences is in keeping the deductible at $500 per person. It's still a $500 deductible. It's 100% co-insurance in the event that an individual meets their calendar year deductible. So this is calendar year, meaning January 1 is the start and December 31st is the end. Now, they do have credit and they do have fourth quarter carryover, being that we are this size a group. So anybody that is currently insured right now with Blue Cross and has met their deductible, that will simply give them a credit or transfer into the next new calendar year in the event, or if should we certainly move to United Healthcare. Okay, either way, staying with Blue Cross or moving to United Healthcare. So they won't lose that deductible portion of anything that's been met October, November, December of this year. A couple of the other enhancements with United Healthcare is the office copays are lower, as Mark mentioned. For a primary care physician copay, it's $25 and a $50 copay for a specialist. Now, everybody's pretty familiar, I believe, with virtual visits, something known as telehealth. Those virtual visits are $0 copays with United Healthcare, and they are or would be or will be as well with Blue Cross Blue Shield. That's one of their new enhancements with their renewals. Also, for those of us who have children on the plan, if they are under the age of 19, I'll reiterate that, if they go and seek their care from a primary care physician who is in network, they have a $0 copay. That is with United Healthcare. So that's a nice benefit, especially for those who have younger children, insured. Again, the biggest difference is going to be the out-of-pocket maximum, and that is your actual exposure individually, and responsibility should an individual have a major catastrophic claim. Right now, that amount is $1,500, and it's increasing to $2,000. It's increasing to $2,000. I apologize. So it's a $500 difference, but with the difference in the co-pays for the office calls, as well as the medications, and the savings and premium kind of helps offset that out-of-pocket difference. Questions? The PPO.
I had a question, and I don't know if you can answer it, but do you have any idea as to approximately how many or what percentage of the doctors in this area of Cameron County and hospitals and other facilities are in network with this particular company?
It's pretty similar in our area. We haven't had any real issues with their PPO network. So being that this is a PPO, it's, to compare it side by side, I mean, it's pretty comparable. Unless I had a very specific name or list of physicians that I needed to confirm, which was never provided to me, I feel confident in saying it's very comparable. I know that we have every one of our hospitals in the system or in the network as well, so we're safe from that standpoint.
How about other doctors and specialists there and other treatment centers like dialysis centers, that kind of thing? Most of them are in network?
Yes.
The reason I'm asking is because I'm a retired state employee myself, and we are going to be changed over to that same company, and my wife has already been told that that dialysis company that she goes to is not in the network. And this came, we have had Humana all along, but now she's being told this. So they're gonna allow her to stay in there to 2021, but I'm just wondering if there's gonna be a lot of other doctors and other specialists that are not gonna be in network. If they are in network, then there's gonna be problems. Or they're not in network, there's gonna be problems.
I'm sorry to hear that first off, and honestly, I don't know. There is a difference. However, it is very comparable. So to say it is exactly like Blue Cross Blue Shield's Blue Choice PPO network, I can't say that. It is very, very comparable. It allows you to, get out, and it follows you. It's a PPO. If you chose to go out of the area, Rio Grande Valley area, you are safe and sound to do that. But gosh, as for specifically stating, yes, this physician is in network, or issues I'll say issues, has been individuals and insureds calling in regards to the prescription medication, because they may have been prescribed a specific drug and the drug has worked for them, and they may have gone through a step therapy to get to this specific drug, and suddenly there's a conversion over to United Healthcare and they don't cover that drug. And that has been probably one of our main reasons for phone calls coming in from our insured. And what they do is they have their policy is they'll say, we're going to cover this for the first 90 days after the policy goes into effect, the drug, but then you are required to go to your physician and find a medication that is definitely on the formulary that we cover. So, and they are sometimes not happy about it, but they end up doing it just to make sure that they have the comprehensive coverage that they need. And that, so that they're subject to the copay. As for the specific providers, I mean, that is a very good point. I personally have not experienced or had phone calls from any of our clients saying, hey, my facility or physician's not in network. So unless I get the details or specifics of who the physician is or facility is, it would be very difficult for me to go yes or no. So, and I know that there's different dialysis facilities. There's US Renal, there's DaVita, you can go, it just depends where you're going. So, but that is we want to make sure that the transition is smooth. That's very important.
That's true, because the first thing I tell my clients with regard to that issue is if you're going to change insurance, make sure that whatever doctors you're seeing are in network. Otherwise, stay where you're at.
It sometimes defeats the purpose, especially if you cannot go and see your physician that you've got a rapport with. So.
Yeah. Okay, well, thank you very much.
Any other
Any
questions?
other questions? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion of consideration to approve the
Move to accept United Health Greer and Associates, option number 3, as presented.
Second. I'll go ahead and second it. Thank you. Are there any other questions or discussion? If not, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed to the same. Motion carried. Thank you. Item 2 is consideration and action to approve or reject any or all proposals received for group life insurance. Mark?
Mr. Mayor, council, the interest. And there's a $20,000 policy for each employee as part of the benefit package. Shield, and for the entire group, 219.
for all proposals received.
City does not pay anything for. The Avisos option 8. That's it.
Mark, both of these are through the Texas Insurance Service?
No, only the Nippon. The other is directly from them, Avis. And this is.
Any other questions? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I move that we approve the dental insurance as presented by Nippon Texas Insurance Service at the rate of $19.42 per employee. And the vision insurance as presented by Avisos. I guess employee cost is what?
$6.30.
$6.30.
Second. Motion has been made and seconded that we approve the bid for that was made by Nippon for dental insurance and Avisos for the vision insurance. Are there any other questions or discussion? If not, those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed to the same. Motion carries.
Before you move on, Mr. Mayor, I want to make it one comment. Tell Tammy thanks. This will be the first time we haven't had a bundled with to Greer and Associates. So if I come back to you in a year and say we can't do that again, you'll know why. Because there is a concern about because Jackie loves it because the employee has a problem. They report it to Jackie. Jackie calls Greer and Associates, and we're done. So we went with the low because that's kind of what we need to do unless we know otherwise. But glad she still got the health insurance because that's the main one. But just so y'all know, if there's problems, we will let you be aware of them. So at this time next year, if we need to make other decisions, we can.
We'll go on to item 4. Consideration and action to increase dumpster garbage rates and update the fee schedule with approved fees.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, if you remember during budget time, we talked about cart prices because through the years they have gone up and we have not increased. But we decided to hold one more year with that. However, on the dumpster cost, we didn't really analyze that or look at that because we didn't know what the actual increase would be. We did get the increase, and they increased it by 2.98%. And on page 220 and 221, I think Jackie gave you a handout on your page because the far right column couldn't be read on all of them. But if we don't change the rates at all, we will have 3 items that we will be paying people to take their garbage per month. And I don't think that's a good idea. What we've done is always pass whatever percentage they pass to us is we pass on to the business. And these are for the big, large dumpsters that the businesses have. And so we charge them the 2.98% increase. And then we put $20 is what the city does for handling and billing. And it doesn't matter whether it's 1 cart or it's 1 cart 1 time a week, or the small one 1 time a week, or the large one 7 times a week. I guess they don't do 7, they do 6. But for us, it's the same handling on the bill. And so we put $20, and we'd like to keep that. That way, those few that are, once they are increased, we won't be paying them to handle that garbage for them.
Any questions? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I move that we take the recommendations made by Mr. Mylum on the increase for dumpster garbage rate and update the fee schedule.
Second. The motion has been made and seconded that we increase the dumpster garbage rate and update the fee schedule with approved fees. Any other questions or discussion? If not, those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed to same. Motion carries.
I
Item
oppose.
5, consideration and action to name the police department building after Enrique Carrizales.
He's gonna first allow the public comment, and then we'll go.
Okay, we have Mr. Enrique Hernandez wants to make a comment.
Good evening, gentlemen, ladies. It's a pleasure to be here. I thought we were going to do this in tandem with the chief. He wants me to carry on, so come on up here, man. I want to thank you for the opportunity to speak in front of you regarding this issue. I got notified yesterday by the chief that y'all were taking up this agenda, and it's been 39 years in waiting for me. So if y'all don't remember what you did on September 29th, 1981, that's okay. I do. I was riding with one of the finest police officers. And he was my friend. He didn't get to finish his career. It was cut short. And I always thought that this city owed him something for the sacrifice that he gave to the city. He left me with a bunch of knowledge and a bunch of laughs. That night, it almost seemed like we were never going to see each other again. And we talked about everything from going to school, girls that we wanted to date but couldn't date, and we chewed on string taters from a can together. So it happened, and he got justice. But I want to see this happen for him. And on his behalf, I want to thank you for even considering it. I will say it's about time. We have named schools and football fields for other people, not taking anything away from that. But this man gave his life for the city. He shed blood. At the corner of Perez Line and 100. And I was allowed to attend his funeral from a distance because they didn't want it to be known who the witness was. It wasn't until 2015 that I was actually allowed myself to talk about it in public when Channel 5 did a report on me. And they called it a living witness. And it was the first time that I'd actually talked about it. And since then, I've been able to talk about it more. I've been invited to the high school to talk to the criminal justice class. And I feel that it was my calling to do that. It was also my calling to become a police officer 2 years later. I've been serving since 1983. And I'm on a downhill slope now, same like this guy here. I got fortunate enough to be hired by the Arlington Police Department and retired from there, and now I'm working for the county. But there hasn't been a year that's gone by that I don't think of him, that I don't thank him, along with David Rucker. If there was a way that I could do it and talk to people, I think we ought to name Highway 100 the Carrizales Rucker Highway. It's just a thought. But for now, I'll settle for this. I hope you all pass it, approve it. Like I said, it's been a long time coming. He wasn't much about recognition. He wasn't about awards. He wanted to give out tickets in the city of Los Rendos. He wanted to be a police officer in the city of Los Rendos. He wanted to retire from the city. He didn't care about the pay. Obviously, because the last ticket he gave, or was going to give, was 6 minutes before 11 p.m., right before he was going to get off work. He didn't care. These tears are my form of PTSD from that situation, and I've had to deal with it all my life, throughout my career. But I have him to thank for it because, you know, it made me survive all these years, made us survive all these years. You know, he and I are probably the only survivors from that era, and we're just glad to be making it out alive. We go visit his grave when we can to let him know he's not forgotten. And with this small token, that you all are considering. It'd be just one hell of a recognition for him. I want to thank you. Y'all have a good evening.
Thank you.
Mayor, council members, I too had the pleasure of working with Rick on that dreadful day. I was in communication, but I was a reserve officer. He came in for the 311 shift. I got off communication on that day at 3, and we joked a little right after, and then he went back in service, and I went home. I just want to thank the mayor, council member, Mr. Herrera, for considering this action. I hope that it is approved. I have talked to the sister and brother of the late Officer Carrizales, and they are very appreciative of it being put on the agenda. Whether it's approved or not, they are very, very grateful for the consideration. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Sure.
First of all, condolences to his dear friends, and thank you for coming today. And I really can't add much to that. So with that in mind, I want to make a motion that we name the police station in honor of your dear friend.
I'll second. Also, there is a plaque, a dedication plaque at the police department, right, Chief? I was wondering if we can't put that like in some kind of a platform at the intersection, like Mr. Hernandez said, that's where it happened. Kind of like what they did with the DPS trooper, sitting on a pedestal. Thank you.
The question I wanted to ask, Mark, there is a plaque there in front of the police station. Is that a dedication, or is the building already named after him?
To acknowledge that plaque was put there when the city hall and police department were built, or shortly thereafter, or when.
But it's dedicated to him, no?
It has his name, yes, on there. We also have his picture and Medal of Honor inside the wall, but it has never been recognized as the Enrique Carrizales building. It has always been the Los Fresnos Police Department.
Right, it was just a recognition and a plaque that was put there. So this will change, and so then if you allow us some time, if this is approved, allow us some time to figure out some kind of name to put on the exterior, and then I think it'd be appropriate to have a ceremony of some kind to acknowledge that, and the different people involved to be present, even if we have to social distance, and then let it be known in our community and news and his family as well. But that's what I would see that we would do.
Well, I have a hard time understanding everything. I can understand the things that.
Okay, I'll try again. What I picture, if this is approved, that we actually have the name, that's just a plaque that's kind of inside a little bit. So we would want the name on the exterior of the building and done very nicely where it can be lit up, and then have a ceremony where we officially dedicate it and recognize the family and make it a little ceremony for that to happen.
That sounds good. Because I know I spoke with Delia Caudillo once before she passed away, and she asked me, I guess she wanted to set up a memorial, kind of like what Mr. Officer Rucker has on 100. But it would have to be done next to the Circle K, right? I
Correct,
don't know
yes.
if there's room there to do anything.
We'd have to check with, I guess, the corporate and TechStop also.
Yeah, because that's what she did ask me if we could do that. And I said, well, we might be able to do that, but I mean, probably the state would have to get involved.
Yes.
And Circle K and they was a different ownership at that time, I think.
That's true.
Did you have a comment, sir?
Just one suggestion for y'all. I mean, if this has been coming on for 39 years, I think I could wait a little bit longer, but an idea would be to, if you plan to have a ceremony for the dedication, if you can do two, fine. If you can do one, every year there's a Texas Police Officer Memorial Week in May. I think that would be fitting if you all want to do it till then. It gives you all time to iron out the details and stuff like that. But in my opinion, that would be fitting to recognize him and dedicate the building to him during that week. I think it's the first Monday of the first week in May. So just an idea. If you all want to do something different, I'll be there.
Thank you. Well, I think what you're saying is a good idea, Mark, as long as we have some kind of ceremony, an official ceremony, and go ahead and set up a flag and invite the family, as you mentioned. I think that, yeah, they would be appreciative of that.
Mr. Mayor,
I still remember that night as well myself, because I used to live on the hunt on 1847, and I heard the shots, and I heard a Torino. I came out to look. I shouldn't have, but I did. There was a Torino going real fast that way. That I remember. But
It was a cougar.
I'm sorry?
It was a cougar.
Yeah.
Yeah. Little details like that, I still remember.
I don't know what, it was a dark colored car, but I did see it. I remember. Anyways.
One more comment, Jackie suggested that maybe that's, depending on if we can put it together quick enough, either kick it off our law enforcement appreciation, which we're calling Blue Light Campaign, with that. So we'll work several different ways with it. We want to do what you approved last month to show appreciation for our law enforcement, to kind of have blue lights along 100 and blue, and maybe we could during, if we can't make it for the beginning, at least sometime during that time, maybe the ceremony to accentuate what you're trying to accomplish with the blue light and appreciation for law enforcement, our local law enforcement, all at the same time.
Sounds good.
A motion has been made and seconded that we name the police department building after Enrique Calzada. Any other questions or discussion? If not, those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed to the same. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lenny. Item 6, consideration an action to set the starting wage for police officers. Mark?
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, during budget time, we were talking about, we even showed you a listing of different starting wages for police officers in the area. And it showed that $17 was about the area. Well, it's my mistake as we went through, we started taking care of our current employees and ended up giving a 4%, but we didn't set the 17 as the beginning, but that was the reason why we showed that, and it was just my oversight. I listened to the minutes, looked at the minutes, and I didn't want to just, I thought it was understood at the 17, but because it wasn't said, I don't want someone to come back and say, you know, you really didn't have the authority to do that. So, but the 17 is where it would put us just above midpoint. That way we can continue to attract good officers for beginning pay here in Los Fresnos.
Any questions?
This won't have a budget impact in any kind, correct?
I didn't understand.
The increase will not have any kind of a budgeting effect?
No.
I don't have a problem with raising the starting wage. I mean, we have to be competitive, otherwise we're going to lose people. And
I second it.
I think good officers. And in order to have good officers, you need to give them an attractive pay. So this is not very much of an increase, so I don't have a problem with it. So I'll go ahead and make a motion that we set the starting wage as stated. 50 cents higher, right?
Yes.
For the police officers. Is there a second?
I'll second.
The motion has been made and seconded that we set the starting wage for police officers. Any questions or discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Those opposed to same. Motion carries.
You look through what we want. $10 not enough. We need to do $12 an hour. It is what we have done other administrative assistants, like the one for and one for Public Works. Not sure why I said $10. That's more of a clerk position, cashiering, answering phones and things like that. So my recommendation is to allow us to do that. And budget, Yolanda asked about the other one, 4160 plus benefits. So, but we can overcome that in our administrative budget through other line items throughout the year.
have minimal, minimal educational requirements or anything specific that you're looking for?
No minimum. We have, high school diploma or GED. But really we're looking for someone that, is independent and can do a little more work than what, than every day. I do the same thing every day. We're looking for someone that can, do multiple tasks and, where I don't have to be, or Jackie doesn't have to be saying, you need to do this, do this, do this. We can give them a project, and they can run with it. That's what we're looking for.
Knowledge, I'm sure.
Yes, sir. Most definitely.
Mark, do you want a budget adjustment?
We provide those for a year, but on this one, I said that I would, we would move those internally within our budget. We will, I've got the authority to move it within the budget line item, so I'll do that some throughout the year, whether we take a little bit from training or a little bit from supplies or something to cover that.
Have you got to have a high school education or?
If anybody could do the job, we wouldn't be asking for it to go from 10 to 12. We're looking for a specific type of individual that can work on their own and be responsible and not someone that just does the same thing day after day. Those people are important and necessary and needed, but what we need for this position is someone that can think outside the box and take projects that we give them and run with them and complete them.
Do you have a job description for that yet, Mark?
Wise, I'm assuming you're probably recommending high school graduate or GED, no less.
Do you have a job description for that position, Mark?
Not all okay.
I
For the administrative assistant for administrative services at $12 the same. Motion carries. Utilization of COVID-19 funding. Mark?
Members of the council, the page that I just gave you, it says COVID-19 funding. This is part of the CARES Act, the act that was sent to cities. And we got funding in two portions. The first portion was $88,300, and that was kind of like an advance to cover all of these items that we initially had mask, uniform, gloves, sanitization, all kinds of things like that. And then there's a second portion of funding, it was $356,300. So the total funding for the city of Los Fresnos is $444,600. All of these items have to be related to COVID and things that we've had to do and change processes because of COVID. So if you'll see there's a first block there where I showed the funding. The second one where the expenditures, that block and has quite a few items in there. Those are the things that we've done already because we've had to do them under emergency management in that order. And I'll just briefly go over them and see if you have questions, and then we'll go to the portion that I need input from. Supplies and benefits, and that was for some overtime that we've had to do because of people out with COVID. And then we did a lot of testing at the station that was done by the state, put on by the state, but we had to do traffic control. And if you'll remember, a lot of those folks came up the night before, and so we had to have officers out here all night during those times. Sanitizing supplies, the next one, gloves, gowns, masks, countertop guards and barrier systems. You notice them out there where the cashiers are. We had to put them in the library as well. Floor decals and signs, you've seen them at stores. Once we started our exercise classes, we utilized them to keep people separate from each other so they didn't get close. Thermometers, of course, we have them at each one of our workplaces, and a few extras so that thermometers can be done over, temperatures can be taken on a regular basis. Training supplies is just a few dollars. Sprayer foggers for the buildings and parks. What this is we will have a sprayer in each building that sprays the mist. Like when we would finish here, they would use that to spray down. It doesn't affect the carpet, the countertops or anything, but it sanitizes after we leave so that if we have a meeting next morning, we don't have to worry about contamination or anything. So we have that for each one of the buildings, as well as backpacks for the parks. And we picture using those as, once we do open the park up, use that as a backpack, and it's got a solution in it, and you just spray down the restrooms, spray down the playground equipment and things like that. So that's why we had a wand one and then a backpack type of sprayer. Intercom doorbell system, that's at the water and sewer plant. Because of COVID, it changes kind of how we let people come and go in our water plant, sewer plant, as well as to the office there. So that intercom and doorbell system will let us have that ability to see who's there, talk to them, and be able to allow them in. The next one is a pretty big one, and if you got any questions about that, is virtual meeting equipment and upgrades at City Hall, PD, and Public Works. What you see over there, I guess, will be gone, right? We've ordered something to make, no one ever dreamed that we were going to be sitting like we're sitting tonight. So we've had to make do over the time, but we've got ordered for a system to be where you don't have all the wires running everywhere. But it also allows for some of us that are now doing our training. Used to, we go somewhere to train. Now we're doing it from our computers. We're doing it, so we're getting all of our conference rooms set up for that. The training room at the PD, where that sets up them for virtual training. Public Works did all of their training somewhere else, and they're already doing training in in our little room there that they use as a training room. So bringing the training to our folks so they don't have to go and travel somewhere. Restraint chair and spit hood is a couple things that the PD wanted. If you have a combative person, you're always having to get close contact with them. And if you won't put anybody in there, but a combative person, you would use the restraint chair. That way you don't have to keep fighting and keep getting possibly infected from that person. Spit hood is something that they can put on a prisoner or someone that they picked up. For some reason, it is common now for them to spit on the officer. So that's what that is. I think there's 3 of those. The next item is, and I'll explain EMS. EMS, even though they're not a city-owned entity, EMS and fire has to come from within the funding of the city under these types of events. We do the same thing if there's a hurricane, it all comes through there. In fact, it even does the school. Usually the school turns us in their overtime hours, turns us in their supplies, and it's funneled through the city to the school the same way with fire and EMS, even though they're not directly owned by us. And so they have done the supplies and mask gloves, gowns, sanitizer. And if you remember, I think I've mentioned we agreed to buy oxygenizers, produced oxygen. They did 10 machines. It was very well used. They still got some out. Some of our people and the citizens here, people that you have better, was able to use those, and they kept them going to the hospital because all they needed was just to help breathe. So that's covered in that $20,000. So expenditures today is $145,080.05. So that leaves us just a hair under $300,000 to get your approval and direction on. This is what we propose. Let me ask you have questions on that part first, and then we'll go into what hasn't been done yet.
On the amount for EMS, is this going to go back directly to the EMS budget, or does it stay with the city?
It'll be a check that will be written to EMS for $20,987.04 because they've already spent that money, and it just reimburses them for that amount.
Okay, thank you.
Mark, this available funding, is it already in hand? You already have it, or you have to request it?
If you look up at the top, that $88,300, that was.
No, I'm looking at the $299,519.95.
Right.
Available funding. Is it something that will still need to request, or did they already send you the money?
Yes, sir. I was going to explain of the funding at the top, the $88,300 was something they sent to us just because. So that they could cover quick. The second portion, which is $356,300, is all we have to purchase it, request it, and we send them backup copies of the invoices, and then they send us the refund of that. So that everything above $88,300 is a request.
Okay.
The $356,300 will be sent to us, to the city, once it is spent.
Correct. And what we will do as soon as approval's made on these other items, we will make that list, send that request, and all we have to have is a purchase order so that they will then refund us. And all this has to be done before December 30th.
Mark, what motion do you need? I want to make a motion. What am I?
Can we talk about the last box? Because that's important for what I want that we haven't decided, but we think is the right thing to do. The first item under there is Surface Pro for council. Y'all got little iPads. This is a larger tablet that you can see better. Dale's got one there. And the good thing about this is if y'all have that and you call him and say, I can't get on, he can get onto your computer while you're watching him. He can't do it without you there. But he can get on your computer and help you navigate and figure whether it's a password problem or whatever. So part of COVID is, hey, we need to keep distance. And so that's why that would be for the council. The next few items are go to touchless soap dispenser, touchless faucets, sensor operated toilets and urinal. And so that's the next 4 or 5 items. Then the next thing that has been done and we think is a very good thing for us to do is to our businesses and residents, a one-time credit of $50 for each resident and each business in town. Everybody's been affected by COVID in some way, and that $96,000.50 will go to $50 to each account. The next 2 are dealing with full-time employees. Many cities have given a one-time hazard pay for the fact that the employees have been out doing this. They weren't sent home or anything. That's $600 for a full-timer, it's $300 for a part-timer. Some have gone higher than that. We didn't feel like it was necessary. The next one is fire, because fire department is one of the involved in there too. EMS shared all their supplies with them, so part of that $20,987 has also helped with the fire. But one of the things that they need is some more breathing apparatuses, so that, and you can see that figure is $32,420. EMS, as they got into the height of the COVID, they were having a hard time getting medics because they were different entities were paying them extra to come work for them. And so the EMS paid $2 an hour extra to get them to work for them during that time. And that came out to $13,286. And that leaves a balance of $86,519.84. And EMS has asked that it be allowed to go towards a unit. And you might say, well, why a unit? During that time, they had 3 ambulances running 24 hours a day, plus they had 2 what we call state asset units that were here. The units, in that short period of time, their lifespan decreased, and they figure over probably a year because of the usage during May, June, July, August primarily. There was some in March and April, but you can see the unit is 202,000, so EMS would still have to come up with the rest of the money, but that would be 86,000 towards that. And then that would be all of our funding. It takes mainly care of the city, but it does impact and help our EMS and our fire at the same time.
Mark, just a comment on that. A friend of mine went, an ambulance took him to the hospital. They had no room. The ambulance kept them all night in the ambulance waiting for a room. The ambulance couldn't run. And they had a big problem.
Yes, sir. We had a bunch of them like that.
where they became the holdover hospital bed. Then we had the second wave coming. I don't think that the second wave, because we've never gotten over the first one. You know, being number one in the state there for a while. So that's money well spent, I think. We tried to look at different things. That's why we went to the business and resident credit on the bill. We really think that would speak volumes to our residents that we did have some funds, and we gave almost 25% of it back to our businesses. So that's, I think that's speaks highly of us if we can do that.
On the hazard pay, I always thought that in the police department, how long do we EMS, of course, should have that hazard pay, but do you have any individuals who actually caught the virus or were treated, but were still being treated and recovering?
No, so we don't have anyone that had, if you recall, another piece of that, and that's part of the salaries and benefits, the 80 hours that by law we had to add to their sick leave to cover COVID. Their COVID sick leave and regular sick leave covered everything. Most of them did it just with their COVID sick leave, so it didn't even touch their regular sick leave. There was a couple that used a little bit of the other, but there was probably some things that they could have done differently individually, but they were all covered. So we didn't lose any pay.
But some of the police officers and some of the other staff that caught it, sure took it home as well, so that added more expenses if the other family members got sick. So I think that those people who actually caught the virus should be paying a little bit more than the $600 because I'm sure they had additional expenses and they are really placing themselves in harm's way. Not by choice, but because they have to. A lot of people who work just cutting grass or whatever, a lot of those people also get sick because they were exposed somehow as well. But, I think that because of the fact that they were working for the city, and we could do whatever we can to make them feel appreciated for their sacrifices.
I think it's real. I struggle a little bit with paying some extra because they got sick, but there are some that were very, very careful during this time, and I don't think they should be punished because they were careful. I'm not saying the ones that got sick were not careful, but I do know that there are a lot of the folks that work every single day out on the front lines and came to work and did things and never got sick because they took very, very huge precautions as they went about their daily lives, not just at work, but also at home and with their relatives and friends. And so that's why we didn't differentiate.
Yeah, but then it's totally different because when you're out there, you don't know who or what you're going to run into. I mean, the staffing here is protected because very little contact compared to being out there. When you're out there, wherever you don't know who you're going to run into.
And I agree with Mark. It's kind of hard to say, you're a part-timer and you're here. And then looking back at the news coverages and everything else like that, basically everybody was either at the beach or putting on masks at the windows or whatever. It's kind of hard to say whether they got it here, Paul, working for the city, or they got it while they were playing. Either way, they got affected, so, you know, I go with what Mark recommended. Well, that's kind of like I say, just, the issue with everything that any of the police officers at the beach, they were trying to protect us. I doubted if any of them went to the beach, they tried to discourage that as far as, you know, the people that live here are concerned. Really, everything that we back to, my comment was on part-timers, not full-timers, like Casey.
Well, I'm talking about full-timers.
That's exactly who I was talking about.
I'm sorry?
I'm not gonna repeat myself.
Well, that's fine. So, just a recommendation, again, whether or not you follow it, it's up to you, but like I say, I think that if we do place our employees in harm's way, we do need to compensate them. And that's my final opinion as well.
I make a motion that we go with, Mr. Mylan's recommendations on expenditures for COVID-19 funding.
Second? Any questions or discussion? Like I say, I don't have a problem with it either. I think that it's good that we have this money. My understanding is that we have to be very specific as to how it's spent. If it isn't spent correctly, my understanding also is that we have to pay it back, correct? Correct?
I didn't understand what you said.
The money. My understanding is that it has to be specifically for COVID-related issues.
Yes.
And it has to be used specifically for that. And if it is not justified, we have to pay it back.
Correct. We'll get approval before, we'll document and send everything in and get that approval before it's done.
And that's fine.
I'm gonna get back in hand there, I guess, Juan, it's,
11:20.
he said he opposes item number 8. I know we didn't vote yet, but maybe one of that.
I didn't understand what you were.
When it comes to the vote, Mr. Rose texted Jackie saying that he opposed item number 8.
Where his vote will be in.
Yeah, he wants to vote no on that, so.
The whole thing, okay. Okay, the whole thing.
To the COVID-19 funding, right?
Yes, sir.
All right, then, is there any other questions or discussion? If not, those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the same. Motion carried.
Mr. Mayor, before you go forward, Juan also said that we never took a vote on item 3, which is consideration and action to approve or reject any of our proposals
for supplemental insurance. I thought we did take a vote, but if we didn't, would you go back and redo that vote on item 3, just for the record to be sure?
Mr. Ray motioned to move, and then Jane seconded, and I believe Mr. Munoz raised his hand when we asked for all ayes. The only one I did record that he did not motion was item number 2. I do have a note that says Juan no motion.
Okay, well then we're okay.
So we're okay?
Yes, sir. I apologize.
Thank you. All right, item F is acknowledgement of city manager's report.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, just go over real quickly, the water and wastewater, you approved the funding there, so pretty soon they'll release us to go out for bids for those projects, which is awesome. A lot of work's been going on at the nature park. If you haven't walked through there, I ask you to walk. It looks really good and continue to look good. The hike and bike trails will start this next Monday. The Henderson Road project, before the end of the week, I will give y'all an update and some detailed information about the engineering, about the contractor, and some other things. We've gotten a couple of emails. I've gotten a couple of emails from residents that live in that area, say it's been too long. It has not passed that time yet. With the rain that we've had, we've had a hurricane, we've had quite a bit of other things with COVID, and sometimes businesses not being able to work because of that has delayed some, but the original date to end wasn't until the end of December anyway. So, but I will update that. So if you hear something from a resident, let them know that I'll have that before the end of the week to you, and we'll also deliver it to all the residents in Quatis area that live along that area. Drainage update, I have a letter ready to go to the drainage district. If y'all remember, to the south of here where the bridge washed out, they continue to tell us that they will pick up all that concrete and clean it out. And then right before that, there's another pipe. We've always done verbal, and they keep telling me verbal. Talked to Mr. Air about it earlier today, and I want to put it in writing. And so I'm just finishing up that letter and let the mayor sign it. And that way it'll be in writing that we've requested this, and it's been plenty of time for them to get that done. So I'll have that. Next month, we'll show you Whipple Road on the sidewalk where we're planning to put it, and to see if you agree with, fortunately, we're able to get most of it onto as far into the 80-foot right of way as we can. There's just a few sections that from the railroad, right before the railroad and the railroad to the west a little bit that we'll have to make some decisions on, but we'll have that for you next month. And that's about all I have right now.
Any questions? If not, I'll go ahead and move that we acknowledge the city manager's report as stated. Is there a second? Motion has been made and seconded that we acknowledge the city manager's report as stated. Questions or discussion? If not, those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed to the same. Motion carries. Item G, acknowledgement of the department head reports. Any questions with regards to the department head reports? If not, I'll move that the department head report be acknowledged as stated. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion has been made and,
1 second.
motion has been made and seconded that we acknowledge the, what- oh, that was the department head report. Discussion. If not, those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed to the same. Motion carries. It is 7:27 PM and we stand adjourned.